Alright, how are we doing? Konzi here, bringing you episode 10 of Kenshi Age of Blood and Sand. As you may have noticed, we're a few days ahead in this episode than the end of last episode. Unfortunately, yet again, I lost a part of my recording. Not a big issue, so what's happened in the meantime is we've basically got extra storage in, we've got the base up and running, and now we're starting to produce our own things. As you can see, we got a decent amount of cloth armors on the go. Not that it's super useful, and then all my hives that I have in there now all have samurai cloth pants on. So not huge, but moving in the right direction. Gonna still sort the resources and that, but also get rid of a bunch of the stuff we don't need. It's going to just take up too much space, and hopefully get a little bit of money for it. We won't get much, but a little bit's better than nothing. And we're just going to sell the worst level equipment off. So as my smiths are getting higher levels, we're going to produce better stuff, so we might as well have more storage for that than the other bits that aren't as good. We've also got Ray back down in Black Scratch. We're after a couple things. I'm after the armoured long coat and dust coat. Either of those would be amazing. I'm also going to pick up a couple free schematics and then a samurai blueprint for a katana, because that thing has decent armor penetration and is a katana at the same time, which makes it just ridiculously good. We did manage to find the blueprint that we needed in the backpacker place in Black Scratch. Issue being, I don't quite have enough money for it, so I'm going to need to go through, find what I can sell just to try and get that little bit of extra money so I can afford it. But once we get that, which we will now have, bang on, we'll be able to start producing our own armoured long coats. Now, they aren't the best armour in the game, but they are lightweight, which is good. They don't restrict attack or speed or dexterity or any of that stuff, and they give to your chest and to your stomach 100% armour coverage, which is always nice, and then 80 to arms and legs, and then 50 to head, which just makes them super useful in the sense that you guys attack at full speed, which is always good. They got decent coverage almost everywhere, so even just having an armoured long coat is a good step forward. We're going to start producing them at the first chance we get, and hopefully we get some decent quality ones, because once they start getting up to specialist level, they are better than, like, say, samurai armour that's of standard grade and without the drawbacks of it. So just that by itself is massive. Seeing as we have a lot of nasties about, we're going to set up a research writing table so we can turn the scrapbooks into research books, which is going to be useful. And we got a bunch of little fights, which is going to bring me on to my next point. And the next point being, I have downloaded the updated Age of Blood and Sand mod list, which is really good, quite fun. I also went into the optional mods to make the game a bit harder, so that's why there's so many more things running around. Also this, and I changed the options. So if you go into the options, then you go into gameplay, you can choose how many NPC squads spawn in the world map and also how big they are. So I've changed it from 1 across the board to 2 for the amount of groups that spawn, and about 2.5 for the size of the group. So yes, we're playing as slightly stronger characters than what you get in base, but alternatively we're now fighting way more things. And I also put the hard gen mod in. The hard gen mod basically makes every NPC in the game better. It doesn't particularly increase their equipment, but increases their stats. So you've got to be careful. And also groups have now not longbows, but crossbows and ranged weapons in, which can cause you problems as well. So you could be having your 5 attack slots filled, and then you got rangers shooting in at you as well. Just going to make the game a little bit more challenging, but it is going to make it a lot of fun. And also just spawns these massive chaotic battles. So when we're at the way station, normally there wasn't much going on. It's a fairly safe area. That's why I didn't mind my hivers just running to and from eye socket to here. That wasn't an issue. If I was trying to do that now, not a chance. So you're going to need to be way more careful. Thankfully I've got the tower real close by. I've got the bed set. I've got people set for rescue and to medic. So we should be able to just go out, fight a lot, and then anyone that gets knocked down be picked up by another hiver and brought back. Issue being just the amount of manhunters and slavers that are now going to be around. those guys, if anyone gets knocked down, they are going to try and capture them and then take them to say like Ice Socket or another slave farm, which is not what I want. But then another breakout attempt's never a bad thing. It's always an excuse to get more hives, and the more hives we have, the better. And I think with how this playthrough's going, it is going to be one where we create our own base. It won't need to be a massive base, it won't need to be special, just enough to start equipping our hives more efficiently than we are at the moment, and then we can start taking the fight to the Western Hive, the Southern Hive, the Holy Nation, and then to Catline. But in this playthrough, one challenge I want to achieve is I want to get Lidus to kill the Bugmaster, but I want him just to have an iron stick, well, an iron club. So one of the ones that a Starving Bandit would use, I'm going to get Lidus, and he's going to take down the Bugmaster with an iron club. And without wanting to spoil anything for anyone, because we're playing with the mod list Age of Blood and Sand, and I added the Praetorian Bolt on, we are not going to be the most powerful thing in a lot of fights. There are things out there which will equal or best a Praetorian. So yeah, my guy like Lidus and Ray, yeah, super strong. A little bit OP, well, considerably OP, but then I like to think that balances out the worker hivers. You know, worker hivers have 75 hit points on body parts, which makes them particularly fragile. The soldier drones in this have 120 on body parts, which is quite nice. I feel that is a needed buff for the soldier drones. It makes sense to me, seeing as they are just bred for war. I didn't believe they would be as strong as Shek, but they definitely should be stronger than a human because they are bred for war. So in my mind, they're like soldier ants or something, so they should be bigger and stronger, or noticeably bigger and stronger than the standard hive, but not too OP. So I think that is a nice balance. But going back to saying about the Praetorians not being the most powerful thing, is yeah, there's going to be some serious nasties showing up, and we all know what the Foglands are like. And now imagine the Foglands, but you now have Ray and Lidus running around, but they're Fogmen. Just a heads up to what's happening. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be quite difficult as well. And also there are things in this game which their stats are not limited to 100. So my colonists, obviously their stats can only go up to 100. That's the max they can get. But there are a lot of nasties out there which will have stats over 100 themselves. So that and they're going to have a stupid amount of hit points with very good equipment. So that's going to be a lot of fun when we come into them. I am looking forward to that. And then also just base things also have more stats across the board as well. So that is pretty fantastic in my mind. And the Traders Guild really should learn that they can't fight me. They just die. So go mug some peasants. Like, bully people that can't fight back. That's how you guys do it. That's how you make your money, is exploiting the weak. not 9 foot tall Praetorians, you know, silly children, but all a part of the fun. I'm quite happy with how Ray's coming along. He seems to be improving. He's not doing great, has to be said, but he is doing alright, all points considered. He's got terrible armour, he's got pretty rubbish equipment, rubbish stats, but he's kind of, well, he was holding his own. But yeah, like he's going to start leveling up. Thankfully, the tower's real close by, so I can just pick him up and put him in it. And eventually he's going to get good. Like, that's Kenshi. Kenshi's a grind. It's not a fast-paced game. It takes a while to get your characters to... Oi! No. Nut drop. There. Get off Ray. Get off him. Oh, this is the bit I was talking about with like manhunters, trying to capture anyone that's down. So we'll get Ray picked up, so then Lidus can have him on his shoulder and fight. I mean, it'll give Lidus some extra strength training, so fighting with someone on your back is always a good thing. Nice way to train up, and also stops Ray getting becoming a slave. Really, that's the main objective there. Because then they go through, they strip you of your kit, they drop it on the floor, sometimes they pick it up and then you've got to kill them and then you've got to search through them to try and find it, which is always super annoying. Part of the reason why I like to make my own weapons, because if that happens you don't have to go searching for them, because you just go back to your base, you then just re-equip the weapon that he would have had, and then off you go again and start murdering some slavers, some manhunters and some traders guild. Thankfully, we're still at peace with the United Cities. They are people that I don't really want to be fighting at the moment, because the United Cities, out of the vanilla factions, they're up there as one of the best. You know, like Holy Nation. Holy Nation is basically just a massive Zerg swarm. Nothing too much to worry about, so they're easy to deal with. The Shek are pretty good. They're fairly formidable. They come in but almost like berserkers. It's not until you start fighting like the Guardians and that they start actually wearing any armor, other than like the samurai leg plates that they wear. But yeah, man, United Cities not someone I want to have beef with. Everyone else I am game on for, because I don't know, something about Kenshi and murdering hordes of people trying to kill you. It's just rewarding, is what I find. Once I start being able to get some armor, like decent armor, and being able to equip like my worker hivers, and then ideally, once I find some my soldier drones, this area is going to be so good for like grinding and leveling up. So where I've got weaklings always give XP. My guys will continue to level quite quickly. It's not that if they're say like level 100 and they fight someone at level 1 they're going to level up really quick. They don't. It's just the way Kenshi mechanics work is at the start you're fighting everything stronger than you, so you have rapid increases in your skills, and then once you're a certain level above somebody else it gets really slow to a point where it basically stops. Which, I don't know, to me just doesn't really make sense. But this way, with weaklings give XP, is I'm always going to be able to train. Obviously, you don't get as much XP as when you're fighting someone that's a higher level or someone that's on your level, but you still get some, so it's worth still being in the fights. I think that now is going to be a good time to heal up, try to get some of my wounds sorted, and then start looking into looting anything that's going to be worth taking at the moment. We're going to then head back to the tower, drop off what we got, let Ray and Lidus healed up. Also, we've got a couple skimmers, so that's a bunch of free food, which is always appreciated. So we'll get Lidus and Ray upstairs onto the bed so they can get themselves healed up. And then we're going to start sorting out the inventories of our characters. And we now have the armoured long coats, which is going to be so good. Like I said earlier, like the protection on them is pretty good. We're also kicking out some okay weapons, nothing fancy yet, still going to take a while to get the weapons up to the stats that we need, but right now we can swap it out for Ray, his crack saber for the Guando, which is going to be useful, and we are now going to go on another adventure. Some of you might be able to figure out where we're going. So we are going to start heading up to the southern slave farm. We haven't been up there yet in this playthrough, so that means there's going to be, hopefully, a bunch of hivers in there that we haven't got yet. And those hivers are going to be useful. And what do we have here? We have industrial rules, it looks like. Okay. They're interesting because they are the same skeleton model as what the Onions would be, but they don't have the hazard suits on them. I'll be interested to see how these guys do. They've got a nice selection of weapons. But yeah, our AoE from our attacks is just destroying them at the moment, which is always useful. Obviously Ray doesn't really use pole arms, so his attack's going to be pretty poor at the moment, and his wielding of the pole arm is going to be pretty bad, so he's not going to be attacking fast, he's not going to be able to defend particularly quick. And like you saw earlier, he got chain stunned for a little bit, and he's taken a fair old bit of damage. Yeah, one of his arms is already down, so he's changed out for his katana. But thankfully this katana is going to be better against these industrial thralls than the normal one. Like, a normal katana is terrible against robots. And then you have the negative armor penetration on. I understand why they've done it, because katanas are just insane. Like, in my mind, they're one of the best one-handed weapon, if not the best one-handed weapon. And with the mods and the new weapons dismemberment mod, I believe it's called, you get a whole different assortment of katana style weapons, which is quite nice. Like, katana's fast attack, good bleed damage, terrible armor penetration, terrible against robots. But with some of them in there, they get armor penetration and they don't have the negative buff to robots, or they even have a bit of bonus damage to robots, which I think's a little bit broken on that. But some of the robots that we will end up fighting, you need that bonus damage against it, otherwise you are not going to get through their armor. And then even if you do get through their armor, you're just not going to cause any damage to them. And like, look at this guy. Like, Ray's just there hacking away at him, and the guy's just not bothered, he's just moving about. Kind of hoping they dropped repair kits, but they don't, which I guess in a way I kind of prefer, because when you start fighting things that are dropping repair kits, if you just pick the repair kits up, you end up just making an absolute fortune, which kind of goes against the idea of Kenshi being a grind, because then it's not a grind because you just have money and then you can buy equipment. Also, that's a nice thing like Kenshi's put in. It's like really high level dangerous NPCs. Yeah, they have decent equipment, which is good. I appreciate that. But like, most NPCs don't, which is good. So it means you can't just fight people and steal their armor and then be like far better off. Are those slavers and manhunters? No, they're like Blackbeard pirates. Not a problem. We got no beef with them and they got no beef with us, so we're good. And we are about to head our way to the southern slave farm, which hopefully is going to be nice and lucrative. And yet again, we get to take the fight back to the slavers. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to need to bring an end to episode 10 of Kenshi, Age of Blood and Sand. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.